Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Real Blue TV. Welcome to another video. This time, we're doing some more aim settings, and it's going to be the best ones. And of course, it's for the new game Gundam Evolution, which is a FPS team shooter. Of course, there's different game modes. We're having tons of fun playing the game, but you can play on mouse and keyboard, or you can play on controller. So of course, this is going to be the best aim settings for controller, because that's what we usually do here on this channel. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video as well, and make sure you share it with your friends if they need help putting their settings for their controller set up on Gundam Evolution on Steam on PC as well. So without further ado, let's get right into the settings. All right, so here we are. We're on the main menu, and we're going to the settings. What you want to do is you want to go to your control settings, and then your mouse is going to be the first one that you get to do. The second one that we need to do first for controller is this is also it's called shared settings, because I guess this works for your mouse too. You can invert your X and Y. I don't do those. Scoped aim toggle. We want this on hold, so that you have to hold your aim in order to ADS, which is what we normally do in every other video game. Move and switch view, we're going to leave that off. What that does, if you turn it on, is it moves, you move your character with the left joystick and you aim with the right joystick. Switching this will swap those. Vibration, we turn it off. If you don't know already, by the way, your controllers will last significantly longer if you turn vibration off on video games, right? Turn that off. All that does is wear down your controller at a faster rate than normal. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the controller basic settings, and they're very basic, but they're not as basic as most video games, I guess you could say. But we're going to take a look at this. If you only want to use controller basic, this is what you need to change right here. So what I have it on is 8 for your sights, normal mode, and then scoped mode, we have it on 6. Again, I say this all the time. We want pretty fast movement while we're moving around with the controller, but when we are in our aim down sights, when we are in ADS mode, we want to slow it down just a little bit more so that we can have that fine-tuned movement and not go too crazy while we're aiming. And the dead zones and the end zones are going to help that, as well as the response curve, and that's what we're going to talk about next. For the dead zones and the end zones, we're going to put them on small. Now, if you have a brand new controller, it's fresh, or your joysticks are really good, or you use those like joystick stoppers or whatever, you can actually put the end zones on none. That way, when you are moving your controller joysticks, the response curve will never end or restrict your movement, because there is no end zone for it to stop, right? It'll keep sending that signal. That's what that is. We leave ours on small, just because we don't want to go too crazy, and we want to have some control over the amount of movement that our gun is going to be doing, our aim. So everything is small, and then response curve is exponential. So the big problem with this game right now is that there's no aim assist at all. You don't have aim assist, okay? So if you put it on linear or you put it on S-curve, it's going to feel very loose and kind of out of control most of the time. That's also why our aim settings are pretty low. Usually in a game like this, with controller-based movement, or you know, take it like this. In games that have minuscule aim assists and controller players can still do very well alongside M and K players, you want pretty fast aim, right, to keep up with that M and K. But the problem is that this doesn't have aim assist at all. So if your aim is too high and you have it on linear or S curve, it's gonna feel like you're loose. Think of it this way. For those of you who've played Shatterline on controller, it's going to feel crazy like that, right? So that's why we have this on exponential. It's just one curve, and then that's where it'll stay until you make another movement, and then it'll do it again. So if you want to use the advanced settings, if you're one of those Apex players that uses ALC controls still, which by the way you shouldn't, if you want to use the advanced settings, I have that set up as well. What you're going to do is you're going to put the first two 50, which is your normal mode for horizontal 50, and your vertical will be 30. Again, I've explained why you want to slow this down. Horizontal, think of it like the sun is setting on the horizon, so that goes left to right. You don't need that aim to be as slow as the up and down, because again, once you go up and down to lock onto their head for headshots, you want to stay there. You don't want to go up and down on their neck and miss shots above their forehead, right? But they're going to be strafing left and right, especially in this game because of the way that you can dash. Not a lot of people, from what I've seen in videos and in my own gameplay, people are doing the hovering jump thing. They're not really doing that. There's not a lot of verticality in the maps as well. It's a lot of left and right, forward and back movements. So you want to be able to control that vertical a little bit easier than the horizontal. The horizontal is the one that you need to be a lot more fluid with and have a lot more speed with in a game such as this. So 50 for your horizontal, 30 for your vertical. For your accelerations, I don't like using these anymore. I think that the acceleration for joysticks in video games is getting way out of control. I think it's not being optimized as perfectly as it can. And also, the joystick acceleration and input delays are different on every controller. PS4, PS5, Xbox, the new Xbox controllers, the Elites, and also, you know, Battle Beavers, Scuffs, other third-party aftermarket controllers as well. So if you turn your acceleration off, and I tell you to turn it off, this can still work generally for everyone, because then you just have to focus on your sense. If this doesn't work for you, let me know in the comments what what you did. Did you go below this or did you go above it? Next, we're going to look at the sensitivity for our scoped, which again is your ADS. This one we slowed down a little bit more as well. There's still a 20-point difference, right? Just like we have in our normal horizontal and vertical 50-30. I like slowing it down when we're ADSing, because again, we need to be a little bit more precise with it when we're aiming. So 40 and then 20, and then the accelerations are all 0. Now this is pretty important. Again, we're gonna have this on exponential. There's only 2 options for the response curve in the advanced settings, which is S curve and exponential. We want exponential because we want to go from here to here. We don't want to do it slowly. This game's pretty, the TTK in this game's pretty quick, especially with M and K players aiming for your heads all the time, and the different types of weapons that different Gundams can have. So we're going to go with exponential because we want to get there. All right, so backpedaling here for 1 second. All right, so the sight's dead zone. You can actually move this and see the circle change. So what this does, right, is I'll just read it straight from the example so that you can also read it if you don't want to listen to me read it. Configure the dead zone from the neutral, which is your centered position for sighting control inputs, right? So the higher the number, the larger your dead zone, which means I'm going to explain what the dead zone is right now for anyone that doesn't know. If I'm looking in this direction and I want to look completely behind me 180 degrees, the dead zone, what happens is if it's at 0, I'm going, and my aim is at 100, then when I turn, I'm going to go at the speed of 100 all the way until I want to stop at the 180 degrees, right? If I have, let's say you have your dead zones at 50%. What that means is that if my sensitivity is 100, to get that 180 turn, 50% of the way is 90 degrees. So it's going to be slower because we have 50% dead zone. So it's going to be slower. Once we hit that 90 degrees, because that's half of what we're doing, that's when it's going to kick into the full sensitivity of 100. Now, this changes if you have your acceleration speeds and delays as well. That's why we leave those at 0, because then I know the raw input and I can kind of gauge it from there. So what I did is I put the sights and the movement dead zone both on 10, because that gives me a little bit of wiggle room. That way, if I accidentally hit the stick or I go one way and then I immediately want to go the other way, it doesn't read it as insanely fast as it would if it was 0. And then for movement end zone and sights end zone, that's going to be 5, because that is when the stick is going to say, hey, you can't do this anymore. You can't go that fast anymore, right? So the higher the number, the greater the range of play. We put a little bit of restriction on that range there. And then again, we have exponential. For the response curve level settings, we put it at 2. This is a control setting for players who want the fine control over small stick inputs. So what this does at level 2 is it kind of goes hand in hand with our dead zones to make sure that we're not going crazy. Again, there's no aim assist, so we have to be able to control our aim as perfectly as we want. All right, well, that's pretty much it. I know a lot of you really complain. There's been a lot of comments too. Someone on freaking Reddit was crying because it was a 10-minute video. But that's it. Let me know what you think about these settings in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Peace out. Keep grinding. Oh, hello there. It's Blue. I'm a terrible dancer, so ignore that version of me on the screen and listen to my voice when I say thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and of course, click on another video of mine. I heard you'll like those over there. They're pretty good.